Hey, what's up, Iron and Truth? This is Paul. Pretty pumped about what we're getting into today, and let's go ahead and get into it. So we got the identity series that we're rolling on, and this is about talking about identity lies that we're being told out there in the world, and we're doing this to get to identity truth, which is a big deal. Um, so we're doing this really, and I started this series for my kids, and I hope you can be blessed by it. I hope anybody that watches it can be blessed by it. But I'm really talking to my kids and to anyone that they or you want to share it with. And I hope it can be a blessing. So let's get started. So the identity lie that we're talking about, that we're going to rip apart today, is that you are your image. You are this image that you are told that you need to construct for yourself and show to the world. And we're told this all the time, and in the world, and we're told this in the world of business. We're told this in the world of family. We're told this in the world of social media. We're told this all the time. Just go on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and what is that perfectly crafted image that you made for yourself, with just the perfect posts and the perfect pictures of who you are. And you're told that that's who you are. And this is a pretty evil lie. It wrecks people. It wrecks people to have to live up to that perfection, or imperfection, or whatever that image is. It brings them down to that image, up to that image, around that image. It brings them. It wrecks people. It wrecks their relationships. Uh, it wrecks lives. And so let's talk about what the truth is. And let's talk about that specifically with the Sermon on the Mount and what Jesus says. And we're going to talk about this with an example that he gives, and with this group that he talks about, called the Pharisees. And the Pharisees in Jesus's time were this group of individuals, and they were great teachers of the Jewish law. And some of them, there likely a number of them were just great people and living great lives and teaching great things and about the Jewish law. They knew the Jewish law better than any of them, but many of them just absolutely lorded this over the other Jews at the time. Right? This was their image, that they were these great Jews. They would make a big show of it. When they would fast, they would make sure that they were looking uh, uh, especially terrible at the time, and wail on the street corner. And when they were praying, they would make sure that they were looking uber holy, and make a big um, to do about it. And when they were following God's commandments, they would make sure that they were showing everybody that they were following God's commandments to the T. Um, and they would lord it over people, and because that was their image, and they would use that image as an image of perfection to the Jews and those around them. But the truth of the matter is, they were just as sinful as everybody else. So what does Jesus talk about when he talks about that? Let's go to the Sermon on the Mount. And I'm going to actually share my screen here, so it's going to take me a second. I'm going to look this way. Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5. This is, if you don't get a chance, this is one of the most awesome parts of the Bible. It takes some really intense reading, and read it like a ton to get to understand it. But it is so amazing, just the stuff that Jesus gets into and talks about. But go to here where I'm gonna, and this can be taught in a number of different ways, but how it pertains to identity, at least in my view, is where he talks about the Pharisees here. He says, "For I tell you that unless your righteousness," right here in 20, surpasses that of the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. And he's talking about, he talks about the Pharisees and their righteousness, and he's calling them out right there. He's calling them out, and he's saying essentially they're about their image, they're about their looks, they're about what they do and not who they honor. And this is a big deal. Their identity, and many of them and many of us. So this is not just about the Pharisees. Many of us create this idea that we follow this law or our image, where they created this image around the law that they follow, and the actions that they take are their idol, right? That is bigger than the actual God they serve. And that's a big deal, right? When you place something in yourself above the God you serve, or this image that you have above the God you serve, and connecting with the God you serve, then that is that is a huge problem. And then he calls it out again down here, and he says, this is where he's saying you need to be a complete person. Where he says, you have heard you should not commit adultery, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Now let's talk about, there's a number of ways to think about that, right? He's saying no one is perfect, right? So don't go out there. He said you've already committed. You are a sinner. You are not perfect. You're not perfection. And even if you try and present a perfect image to the world, you will never live up to that perfect image. That perfect image will become your idol. It will become something that controls you and rips you down. So there's not a bad thing about trying to dress nice or look nice or anything like that. That is not what he's saying. He's saying once you make that your idol and put that above and lord it above others, such as the Pharisees did, right? You put that above God, and you put that idol of image above God, and therefore you can never connect to God, right? So unless you realize that you in your heart are not perfect, are not above God, and place your image in the correct place, which is in God first, and not in that perfect image that you want to have of yourself, or that perfect being, or whatever, then you can't truly come to a whole and beautiful version of yourself. And that's just teaching in the context of identity, right? So if you find yourself searching for that identity, and a lot of kids in middle school do this, like they find themselves just, oh my gosh, I have to listen to certain music because that's the cool music. And the more music I listen to that's super cool. And I'll get into this super cool group, or I have to wear this certain clothes, and then I'll be perfect. And because everybody in the group is wearing that certain clothes, and I got to present this perfect image. In my time, it was grunge. So the more grunge stuff, and grunge was like, hey, I still wear flannel. Look at this. But the more grunge I wore, and the more depressed look I had, and didn't care, the cooler that I thought I was. And even though I did care, and even though I did uh, really didn't like flannel at the time, but I wore it, right? And because I wanted to present this image to the world. And that is not being a whole person. So the whole person that you bring to the world is much more important than the image. So God says, you're going to have faults. You're going to have problems. Bring those to me. Bring those to God and work them out with me. That's why he gave you Christ. That's why he said, submit to Christ. Just give your life to Christ. Christ gave you the ultimate sacrifice. You need, you can't be more righteous than anybody. It's impossible. So bring me the sins, put them on the altar, bring them to me, and I will give you your identity. You're not going to get it an image because you're not going to be perfect. And that is why if you try to have that perfect image and you put all your identity in that perfect image, it's going to fail. You're going to have that bad social media post. You're going to have a bad hair day. You're going to wear the wrong shirt. Somebody's going to not like it. And it will cause you immense pain, right? If you put your complete identity there. But if you put your identity in being the whole person made by God, for God, that is going to fail and is going to sin, but gives those sins to God and goes back to God for forgiveness and instruction and love and wholeness and fullness, you can get your identity from him. So God bless everybody. Lord Jesus, I hope that this is effective. I hope that this is your word coming out and not mine. I hope it's helpful to anybody that watches it. God bless everybody. Have an amazing day. I'm signing off from Iron and Truth. I'm going to look this way while I turn off the camera. We'll see you. Have a great day.